Hello there, Erin from Morehouse Farm here with today's knitting tip, which is how to do the yarn over and reverse yarn over increases. And they're a lot like make one left and make one right, except they add a little bit of extra slack into the fabric so that you're not tugging at the stitch in the row below. And you can see here, it makes a nice neat increase. We've still got the purl bump on the outside, but it's not tugging this yarn or this yarn in any particular direction because there's just enough room to work. So here's how you do it. First, we need to get to the right place to increase. I've got one stitch and then I'm going to be at my thumb gusset. I'm going to slip my marker. Yes, you can see I'm working with really fancy ones here. All you need really for a marker is just some scrap yarn that shows that's where I need to start paying attention to the change in my directions. Man, you can find lots of stuff around the house too. I've used paper clips before. I've used hairbands. I've used earrings in a pinch. Doesn't matter what you have, all it needs to do is call your attention to it. And you don't need some really fancy stitch markers. Although, I'm working on a nifty set for Morehouse for Christmas, so stay tuned. Anywho, we're now to the point where we need to do the reverse yarn over, which normally we'd wrap the yarn around the needle. Here, we want to go backwards, so over top, back to front, and then we're going to keep knitting. And that's going to give us the reverse yarn over. Looks the same as a yarn over except the direction in which it's moving, and that's going to give us the slant towards the right. As soon as I get to the other end of my thumb gusset here, I need to do a regular yarn over, right? So yarn front to back over the top. And then I'm going to slip my marker and knit a stitch. That's the setup row so that I have these yarn overs ready to now be worked as the increased stitches. It does create a hole there, so that's why it's important to pay attention to where the yarn is and how you pick up the stitch. And that's what I'm going to show you next. So now we're ready to knit these yarn overs and reverse yarn overs. And this one's a reverse yarn over. You can see back to front over the needle. In order to make this work, we need to make sure that we don't knit it normally, but instead twist the stitch. If I were to knit it normally, I'm going to have a hole, as I would with knitting lace. But in this case, I want to knit in such a way that makes a cross on the stitch, and that's what's going to eliminate the hole. So you might hear knit through the front loop or knit through the back loop. Pay attention to how the needle is positioned within the yarn. So there's always a right leg and a left leg. And you want to make sure that one crosses over the other in this case in order to avoid the hole. So when it's in the reverse yarn over form, you're knitting through the front loop, which is totally backwards from most of the knitting instructions that you hear, because that's how you normally knit. So just pay attention to right leg and left leg and know that you need to cross one over the other. So you're knitting through the front here, which is really the left leg, as I like to say, and that's what's going to eliminate the hole. Now it looks like there's a little one here, but wait till I finish this row. You're going to see how all that slack gets picked up in the fabric and it leads to a no pucker situation, which is exactly what we want. So let me knit across here to the remaining side where I've got the other stitch to work. That'll be my yarn over stitch. And you can see that one's front to back. Here's where I've got to make the cross again. So if I knit the front side, I'm going to end up with a hole. I want to cross it over. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to grab the left leg in an X. In this case, it happens to be on the back side of the needle. I'm going to knit that, slip my marker and knit the last stitch just so we can take a look here. And see, with just a little bit of tension moving around, my holes are disappearing. Pretty awesome, huh? I've got a nice flat fabric that doesn't pucker. And as soon as I wash this, all those stitches are going to even out. That's why it's so important to do your blocking. And now I have a new way to make an increase that I think I'm going to use wherever I can because I love how it doesn't tug. Happy knitting from Morehouse Farm.